At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to the Augusta Golf Show podcast. Now, here's John Patrick.
Rich Lerner is the host of Golf Channel's very popular Live From program at the game's biggest events. He is preparing for another season. I think this is a great way to begin the year. It's a pleasure to welcome Rich Lerner back to the Augusta Golf Show. Happy New Year, Rich.
Happy New Year, Grandpa.
Thank you. We're good. We're good. You told me before we went on the air, let's get into this. There's going to be a book come summertime.
Early June. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Happy New Year to you and everybody out there listening. A book called Rich Lerner, Aren't You That Golf Guy? And derivation of the title is pretty simple. In many places that I go, people will tilt their head and they'll look at me quizzically and they'll say, "You that golf guy?" And I'm that golf guy, and I've been for not the only golf guy, but I am that golf guy on Golf Channel. This is year 30, and wow. I thought good time to spill all the stories that I've collected, going all the way back to my dad's driving range. My dad started a driving range, fully lighted par 3 miniature golf in Allentown, Pennsylvania in the mid-1950s. And so I worked there with my brothers and many of my best friends to this day. And there are just tons of hilarious stories and oddball characters. But then it tracks through my professional days at Golf Channel. So it's sort of, 7, 8 books within one. Chronicles my early years, and then how I got to the Golf Channel, and then all the people I've encountered, and that obviously includes Arnold, co-founded the channel, and my dad, reached out to Arnold in the very early days of the driving range. And I've told this story before, but my dad's idea was to get Arnold to lend his name to the new venture. Arnold was ascendant, and my dad's dream was to have a string of Arnold Palmer golf centers across the country. It was sort of like Top Golf 50, 60 years before that came into our world. But we know that Arnold was a great businessman in his own right. And when my father found out Arnold's asking price to lend his name to the new venture, Dorneyville Golf Center was born, named for the little borough on the edge of the expanding city of Allentown. Arnold never forgot that. We always had a good laugh about that. But the irony is that years later, Les Lerner's son would go to work for Arnold's network in the mid-1990s. Yeah. And so there's a great deal on Arnold and Jack, and then Tiger, because, my arrival at Golf Channel, corresponded with Tiger's arrival and ascension, 1997. And so, humbly, I probably have written more pieces about Tiger than any other golf television reporter, just because, I've been there for the entirety of Tiger's professional career. So I write about the rise and the fall and then the comeback, but there are wonderful stories about Nicklaus and obviously Arnold. But then, there are chapters on they're far afield. We've got the chapter called Golf Claps with Will Ferrell. About the time that Kelly Tillman and I were down at Amen Corner Masters, and Will was standing to our left. It's a very funny story. There's a chapter on Matthew McConaughey called Sexiest Man Alive. There's a chapter on Samuel L. Jackson, my encounter with him at St. Andrews, really funny. A chapter on Bill Murray. And then, from my childhood, there, all the assorted oddballs that were in my world. And then, deeper as we go, there's more currently, there's a chapter on Bryson, on John Rahm, on Scotty Scheffler. There's a big treatment of the 2025 Masters. There's a deep dive on Mickelson and what happened to Phil. So I go deep, I go far, I go wide, and it roughly is my life in the game. And I think it's going to be fun. And it covers a lot of ground, and it should be, I think, a good quick read, and interesting. And I got a chapter on Tommy Fleetwood, got a chapter on Vern Lundquist, on Ben Wright, on just keep going.
Good.
Tom Weiskopf. I spent time with Weiskopf in Montana in his later years. I mentioned Ben Wright. I spent time in the mountains with Ben Wright after he was exiled from the sport. I think it's going to be fun.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you
that.
for giving me the real estate to wax on that.
Well, if people are coming up to you asking you, aren't you that golf guy? Do you get a sense of how popular Live From has become over the last 5-10 years?
Yeah. Look, yes, I would say, and we're there. So we you watch a major. So it's the Masters of 2025. It is so obviously a moment, one that it'll reverberate for a long time. And as a viewer, what's your first inclination? I want more, and we're more. We're lots more, and we're there. We've always been there, at least for the last 20 plus years that we've been doing this. And so yes, we're stitched to the game and its biggest moments, and I hope that we've done it in a way that people feel good about, and we don't cheat the sport. We try not to dumb it down. I think we have two of the best in the business, and two of the best to have ever done it. Certainly, I think. I'm biased as I sit next to Brandel and Paul and Todd Lewis and keep going. There's a great cast of people behind the scenes as well. But I think people trust what they have to say. Doesn't mean they always agree with what Brandel and Paul are saying, but that's good too. I think the idea is to be provocative, and that doesn't have to have a negative connotation. It means you provoke thought and conversation, maybe even debate. Because at that point, when people do tune in, it is in small part, I think, to review what just happened, but they also want to know, Paul, what do you think? Brandel, what do you think of that club selection? Brandel, what went wrong there? And those two are more than up to the challenge. And I will maintain Brandel's been at it for a long time now, and I understand that he can rattle some cages. He's just so fearless. I think he's among the very best to have ever done it in sports television. The narrow category would be desk analyst, not Tony Romo game analyst, John Madden game analyst. I'm talking about people that sit on the desk. And I think for the breadth of his knowledge, his willingness to challenge convention, to take on the athletes if he feels it's warranted, his sense of humor, his television mechanics, all of it, I think he's in the conversation. My view, and I'm biased, I think he's among the best to have ever done it. And I think Paul has struck a chord as well, different in his approach. But Paul struck a chord. People love Paul. You just get this sense he's the kind of guy I'd love to hang out with. He's the kind of guy I'd like to play around in golf with. The kind of guy I would have loved to have played for if you were good enough to be on the Ryder Cup. Paul's has a wonderful sense for people. You can see why he was a great leader in the Ryder Cup. And he's smart. He really not only understands people, but and I always used to say this about Frank Nobilo too, and Frank gets a lot of credit, for helping to build the foundation of Live From, and he was an enormous part of it. That both were great game readers. In other words, when the tournament was underway, both Paul and Frank really understood the nuance of the ebbs and flow of the competition and how to read it. And that was always so valuable once you got into the thick of the tournament. So, I think people do, we do get a real sense that it's on their menu, a game day menu for sure, is Live From.
Are we going to get a Live From before the players?
We will not get an official Live From, but we will have desk coverage on site at the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Okay.
There'll be a desk out at the WM Phoenix Open. We start in this Wednesday. I'll be hosting from the studios. We're even though there is no golf, unfortunately, because of the water situation out in Maui, there's no tournament at Kapalua. But starting Wednesday and through Sunday, I think 5:00 Eastern every day, 1-hour shows. There'll be a lot of guests. We're going to do a lot on Rory and Scotty and get people set for the 2026 season. What's the calendar going to look like? What about the LPGA Tour? Gino Titakun, Nelly Korda, and so we will have programming this week, and then we get it rolling.
I don't know that this question matters, but everybody asks, who do you think had the better year, Rory or Scotty?
Yeah, I mean, look, who's the player of the year? It's probably, Scotty. Statistically, and he won more majors. Although I think the players it's not a major. It's just on the same level. And Rory won a Players, and he won the Masters, obviously. So who had the more profound, historically consequential year? Different question. I would say Rory, who had the better statistical year with more victories and better stroke gain, Scotty. What I will say, and I've been thinking about this, is that every sport, I think, is dependent on its very best players. So think about baseball, and you assess their season. The first thing that I think about is Shohei Ohtani, by far baseball's biggest star. And how did he do?
Yeah.
He played the single greatest game that's ever been played. Almost everybody universally agrees with that. And his team won the World Series. Great for baseball. In football, if you go back to the Super Bowl, then it was Saquon Barkley. But this season that is still ongoing, not quite a Shohei Ohtani situation. Patrick Mahomes, its best player, injured, and the Chiefs did not play as well as they had been in previous years, missing the playoffs. What about golf? I think golf's two biggest stars had, obviously, phenomenal seasons, and that's great for the game. Even with all that's going on, with all of the uncertainty about the schedule and live golf, etc., still, the sport's two best players had memorable years, and that is good for the game. So that to me was the big takeaway. And you could go on and on. I think both are flush in their primes. Rory's 36, Scotty's going to be 30 Sunday of the U.S. Open, where he can complete the career Grand Slam, following up on what Rory did in 2025. they're primed to do more. I think they're both hungry, obviously, to do more. And I think both have, broken out of the golf bubble to where they have the attention of the wider sports world. I think about Scotty chipping in at the BMW in the playoffs that on the 17th hole down at Caves Valley, that outrageous sort of 82-yard chip shot. And LeBron James and Patrick Mahomes both sent out posts on social media after that ball went in. Just how mind-blowing it was. So he's kind of, gone to another realm. And we know Rory, absolutely has with what he did and what, the ride that he took fans on for the last, 10 to 15 years, culminating with the Masters win. So then from that standpoint, the sport is sitting pretty as we get ready for 2026. You're going to hear a lot about an uncertain future, the schedule, scarcity, all of that, but that'll sort itself out. I promise you, we're going to have golf balls in the air. We will still be the network of the well-struck 7-iron. There will be plenty of tournaments, competitions around the world. The schedule may and likely will look a bit different beginning in 2027. But I think, we're still going to have golf largely as we've known it for a long time. There will be tweaks and changes here and there. But for the most part, we're all going to have our golf.
Do you think we'll see less of Rory in this country this year?
That's a good question. So, Rory played a global schedule. He's well compensated. He doesn't, show up in India, without getting paid. But I give him credit. They've been getting paid for a long time, players to go far and wide. But I give Rory credit. He thinks it's important to play a global schedule. He played in the Middle East. He played back home in Ireland, was one of the best finishes of the year. That eagle on the 72nd hole to push a playoff, which he ended up winning. The crowds were insane, Ryder Cup level noise, though they were behaved in a way they weren't the Ryder Cup. It's a whole other story. And then he went to India. He went to Australia. So I give him credit. It's something he's committed to in a way that Scotty has not. And that's fine. That's Scotty's choice. He doesn't rather be home in Dallas. But do I think Rory's going to play less? Maybe a little. If there are, 8 signature events, maybe 9 now. I have to go add them up.
I think there are 9.
Tournament at Doral, maybe the additional one. I don't think you're going to see Rory in every single signature event. So we'll see him where it matters. We'll see him. I think he always starts in the Middle East, and then we'll see him at Pebble Beach, where he's defending, and then we'll see him, I would assume, at Bay Hill and keep going. So I think we'll see him enough, but he may not play in every single signature event.
What was your favorite memory from last year?
Well, okay. Favorite, I think Rory collapsing in relief, joyous relief on the 18th green, having won the Masters in the career Grand Slam, and that has to be it. Given all that he went through and all that he put us through,
yeah.
I think I came on the air that night. I said, I can't do this ever again. Thank you, Rory, because I no more. I don't have anything. I don't have anything left. So I think, but I'll just backtrack a little bit and dive in on that. It was the most nerve-wracking Sunday I've ever experienced in my almost 30 years at Golf Channel covering the major championships. And I think the reason was Rory was on this high wire, having blown quite a few tournaments, Pinehurst U.S. Open, the U.S. Open at LACC North, the Open Championship at St. Andrews in 2022 that Cam Smith won. We know the history. We know what he was trying to achieve. He was trying to become one of the bedrock legends of the sport. And so there was no middle ground. He was on this high wire, and you could feel it. And on one side was immortality. It was Saracen. It was Saracen, player, Nicholas, Tiger, blah, 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 blah. The stone cold legends of the sport. And at the bottom was disaster, infamy. And there was nothing in between. If he loses, he is a serial disappointer. He is the mayor of Normanville, the new mayor of Normanville. And that's the price you pay at that level. You could be Greg Norman and have been number one in the world for 300 plus weeks and, be a 100 millionaire. And yet the view may not always be so positive because you're judged so harshly when you're that good. So there was really no middle ground, and you felt it. And you're on that high wire with him for 5 hours. And I mean, it was nerve-wracking. And he needed it in a way that I don't think Nicklaus needed 86. Jack's legacy was secure already. I think Tiger's legacy was largely secured in 2019, although it certainly, I would say, burnished what had been maybe slightly tarnished, with the personal struggles, etc. But Rory needed this, or he was going to be judged harshly. Guy who can't get it done, missing some crucial ingredient. And so that's why, for me, this was the most tension-filled Sunday I've ever been through as a reporter, as a fan of the game, and why I think it is in the conversation for greatest majors of all time. And we'll have that debate as we get to Augusta in April. So that's number one. Another memory for me was Tommy Fleetwood, round 3 of the Tour Championship at East Lake. And he's sitting on a lead, and we know he's 0 for 162 or 3, was it? I think that he hadn't won on the PGA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And he kicked away the tournament at the Travelers to Keegan Bradley. He had a crappy wedge down the stretch. He kicked away the tournament at Memphis, the FedEx St. Jude Championship. And, now he can't shake that label as the guy who can't close. So he's at the 15th hole, and he's got to cover East Lake, which must have looked like the Atlantic Ocean to him. And he rinsed it, not even close. And you're thinking, here we go again. And he walks around the lake up toward the green. And there he is, fist bumping the fans along the way. You're thinking, this guy, this guy refuses to be anything but a good human being, even in the face of what appeared to be another failure. Because it's a fundamental for him, just like grip, posture, and alignment are fundamentals. For Tommy, being a good human being is a fundamental. And, the greatest quality it seems that an athlete can have, and this has been the case for a long time, is that killer mentality, the Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant, step on their necks, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't Tommy. And so he makes double bogey there. And then he birdies the next 2 holes. And then he wins on Sunday, because at some point you contend enough, you keep getting back on the horse, you keep putting yourself in the thick of it. One of these days, it's going to be Scotty that hits one in the water, or gets one OB as he did Sunday, I think the first hole. And it's going to fall your way. And as he comes up the 18th hole Sunday at East Lake, Englishmen, the American fans are chanting, Tommy, Tommy. And he became a beloved figure because he faced the music at every stop, even when it was painful, in a way that other guys did not in 2025. Lose a tournament, step before a bank of cameras, and let the world know how painful it is, what you learn from it, and you take it and you stand in there. And that was Tommy Fleetwood. And so it was this idea that virtue and victory don't have to be mutually exclusive. And all the great lessons that you'd want to teach your kids and your grandkids, John, I think were embodied in the Tommy Fleetwood saga. And similarly with Rory, which is don't be afraid to fail. If you want to do something great, you have to be on the outer edge there where, discovery, right on the edge of discovery is a disappointment or a disaster. Right at the far edge of a breakthrough is a breakdown. You need, and in golf, you fail far more than you win. I've said this before, you make the Hall of Fame winning 2.5% to 3% of your career starts if you've played for 20 to 25 years. And if you played 500 tournaments and you won 3%, you've won 15 tournaments. If one of those is a major, you're in the Hall of Fame. It's Freddie Couples. Davis Love won a little less than 3%, I think, of his career starts. He's in the Hall of Fame. And the point is, you're going to taste defeat. If you're that good, if you're as good as Rory and Tommy, you contend a lot, but you lose a lot. How you handle that makes the person, makes the sportsman in the end. And Tommy proved to be not just an elite player, but a fine sportsman. And I think everyone recognized that. It was that moment to pull away and say, it doesn't have to always be about winning. Character should matter. And I think that's something we all feel more so than ever before. And good for Tommy Fleetwood. So I vividly remember that. Certainly 15 on Saturday at East Lake, then Sunday walking up to the chants of the crowd and how good everybody felt that Tommy finally broke through.
I can't think of a better person to ask this question of, and you may have just done it in the last 5 minutes. How do you explain why we love sports to someone who doesn't get sports?
Yeah, good question. It's I love disappearing into it, immersing myself in it, and maybe as crazy as the world seems to have gotten, as frenetic as it all seems to be with social media and phones pinging, and it's spinning faster. It feels like, maybe it isn't, but it's spinning faster than I think we can all comprehend with AI and all of that. And I know I disappear into sports, a website. I follow the Orlando Magic. I'm a big NBA fan because we lived in Orlando for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I just love it. And I like disappearing into it and, following the progress of the players. And there's what's better than a great ball game or a great golf tournament, down the stretch, exciting. It occupies time. It bonds families. I have this tremendous bond with my two boys on the NBA because we grew up playing basketball and going to Magic games in Orlando when we lived there. We live in Connecticut now, and to this day the game's on. We're texting. You see that dunk from Franz Wagner? That kind of stuff. So it bonds. It's a way to disappear, from a world that's intense at times, and then there's just the pure great performance, athletic performance, and then you get invested in certain athletes over a long period of time. This is where I think you have to appreciate what Rory's done. Rory's been at the highest levels for 16 years now. And he has, if this is a Broadway show, it's a hell of a show, isn't it? It's got quite an arc, and it's got twists and turns and sadness and setbacks and triumphs. And so, why do we love sports? You love sports because of the 2025 Masters. I mean, just look at that. And there's your answer why we like sports, because, that drama, that heartbreak, that kind of hope, that kind of, witnessing something you've never seen before. And just it can be, in many cases, something you never forget. And, what else? There are books. I hope we all still read. Maybe reading the books to take us away. There are shows to take us away. There's, exercise to take us, where we need to be. And there, sports and entertainment. It's still, you don't need writers for some of this stuff. You couldn't have written what we saw at the 2025 Masters. I don't think a Hollywood writer could have done that. And why do you think, John, we love sports the way we do?
Because I think it helps us think we're bringing out the best in us. I'll tell you a quick story about golf. For many years, I was a disc jockey, and we'd go to concerts, and we'd go backstage, and we'd meet people. And Lisa loved it, and we had a great time doing it. When I started doing this golf show 18 years ago, about 3 or 4 or 5 years into it, and I'd introduced her to various, people in the game, she said, as much as I loved meeting those people backstage, the people you've introduced me to since you've been doing this golf show are just the best people. And I said, that's the game. That's the game. The game humbles you. Are there jerks? Sure. But for the most part, the people in this game are just wonderful.
Yeah, no doubt. And the professionals that we cover, it's a hard job to shoot 67. Any of us who play the game can tell you that.
Yep.
And that's what I always have said about covering the PGA Tours, what I've largely done for these years, is that every day you're out there, you can palpably sense this quest for excellence. They're all trying to shoot 65, 6, 7. Mm-hmm. And that's the job.
Yep.
And it's nothing less than excellence every single day. And we get to draft off that. And it's exciting. And you can feel that energy. It's it's like a forward moving colossus, and it's exciting. And and there, golf tournaments are a particular kind of sporting event too. They unfold much more slowly than a single night basketball game or a football game. The game last night, obviously, when it's going to run, but the Sunday night game for the AFC North title, exciting. Golf is 4 days. There's Thursday. Okay, let's watch a little golf, see some well-struck 7-irons. Rory's in the field. Scotty's playing. Whether he shoots it, and then Friday, get who's in position. He's leaving Saturday, and boom, it builds, and you sort of, you begin to lock in. But it's a different animal altogether. But can be, as sort of slow moving as golf is, we all know. Sunday afternoon of a big tournament, the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Players, whatever it is, that 5th hole, 8th hole, you're on the edge of your seat. Every shot matters, and it's a really good immersive experience, to watch a golf tournament.
He is celebrating 30 years at Golf Channel and has a book coming out this June. Hey, aren't you that golf guy? He is Rich Lerner, and I can't think of a better way to start the year. My friend, thank you for saying yes to this. I deeply, deeply appreciate the time. Thank you.
John, thank you as always for having me on. Happy, healthy New Year to you and your expanding family. And again, congrats. I saw the picture. Beautiful. You're going to be, I can tell you're going to be not a great grandfather. You're just going to be an excellent grandfather.